Is it scary being a lady FBI agent?
Yeah.
Take a nice long look. A letter was left with the bodies. Signed with one word.
Longlegs. So me and Alex have both had the pleasure of seeing this week, and it's a very creepy film which stars Nicolas Cage as Mr. Longlegs and MaikaMonroe, who is Agent Lee Harker, and she's kind of like leading the FBI investigation team into a supposed serial killer, which only details on the end of his letters Longlegs. That's the only clue. And essentially this long-legged character, he induces mostly the fathers of families around America to just go on this rampage and kill the whole family and then commit suicide themselves. And that's where the big investigation by the FBI come in. It's a very creepy, twisted sort of film. Yeah. What did you make of this, Alex, anyway?
Yeah, good. MaikaMonroe was leading the film as this FBI investigator. It did very much feel like, I told you, I don't know if you watched True Detective, the very first series with Matthew McConaughey. This looks and feels very much like it. And the level of creepiness, if there is such a scale up and down on the level of creepiness, is I think up there with, what's the film with? Silence of the Lambs. I think is as creepy as Anthony Hopkins, the character, Nicolas Cage's character, Longlegs. And I think that's the highlight of the film. Is not for too long in the film, Nicolas Cage's character. It doesn't show up for long. But there's a couple of really powerful scenes when it just gets under your skin with the level of creepiness that this, villain has, let's call it, in the film. But yeah, the story in itself is very linear. We do get to see, and it's very well detailed when we get to see the main character's childhood, and what happened in childhood is framed differently. But it's a thriller film. I was a little bit taken by surprise by the cheap scares, like I like to call them, when the volume was turned all the way up just to make people jump in the cinema. But are you a fan of those, Baz, or you just don't mind?
No, I never have been. As you say, I'll describe them as cheap scares as well. I think it's a cheap jump scare, isn't it? That's the terminology for them. I know which ones you're referring to, and yeah, I didn't think the film needed that. That being said, I think what it excelled at, as you know, it's a story we've all kind of seen before. It's an FBI team tracking down a big-time serial killer. But with Nicolas Cage and Longlegs himself, the scenes where you see him kind of living his day-to-day life before they catch him, it's very sinister. And I think a good way to describe it would be, we've all kind of met someone like this in real life.
Yeah.
And it's like the actual character in of itself is a bit of a Charles Manson kind of prodigy, because he isn't actually committing the crimes that the FBI are kind of pinning down on him. He's kind of inducing, as I'll describe, the fathers in the family to commit the crimes for him. Through sadism and what have you, but it poses kind of a moral question, like, is this character innocent, or is he just gross to look at and ugly, and that's why you don't like him?
Correct.
Yeah. And as you say, it's almost, he's kind of as ugly in his personality as he is in appearance. Wouldn't you agree, Alex?
Absolutely, exactly. So, and Nicolas Cage plays on that very well. It's the sign of a really, really good actor when he knows, this is how I'm going to portray this is relatable. People have seen this type of person, and we put it in a context when there's a lot of murders happening, but we don't actually show him murdering anybody, so that so that the audience is convinced. So that's very well put together. But let's talk about the character of Harper, which is played by MaikaMonroe, which very well put. We've seen her in It Follows, amazing film. That's one film that sticks to my head consistently. Yeah. What did you thought of the character? Did you like it overall, or
yes,
all of it acting and the type of person? Yeah.
So she's meant to be quite psychic. But this film deals in sadism and devil worshipping, and it also dabbles in a little bit of psychic nature as well. She's meant to be a bit psychic, and you find that out in the first 15 minutes of the movie.
You identified the suspect's house. No prior knowledge, no real indication that it was any way different than all the cookie cutters all around it. Anything like that ever happened to you before, Agent Harker?
From time to time, sir.
Well, maybe we'll just call you highly intuitive.
Yes, sir.
But I think her character, awkward as she might be, it makes it more interesting. Her presence on screen is not a sociable person.
Correct, yes.
To say the least. And I kind of likened it to Jake Gyllenhaal's impression on Prisoners. It was kind of like the same sort of, bit of an odd detective, not quite fits in with a puzzle, not a normal member of society, but just made her character very interesting. And as you say, we've already seen her in It Follows, and that was the film that sticks in memory. That was a good horror.
Absolutely.
As was this,
As was this,
so clearly she's got a knack for picking good horror films, 100%.
And like you said, the character is, they call her literally in the first 10 minutes, she's highly intuitive or something like that, because she has a sense of feeling when there's something wrong in the air or in the area or something like that. And that's how she gets picked up. That's why it feels like Silence of the Lambs, because she's a rookie FBI agent and she gets picked up into this to work on this big massive case. And obviously she makes progress on all of that, and the story develops in a way that was, without spoiling too much, Buzz, or at all. Did you sort of predicted where it's going, the story towards the end, in regards to her character? Were you expecting to become closer to home?
To be fair, I wasn't actually. I was caught off guard. Maybe that's me being simple, but I was caught off guard with the, shall we say, the early clues in the film of where the story is going to culminate. So I actually enjoyed the ending, and I didn't think it was predictable or anything of this nature. So for me it was enjoyable. I think others might say differently, but what about yourself? Did you felt let down by the ending?
No. Actually, the end was pretty good, because I think it was in line with the rest of the film. I think the type of ending is just as ambiguous as the rest of the film, as weird as the rest of the film, let's call it. But in regards to predictability, I was a little bit expecting it to come the way it did, but not as predictable as the other one that we've seen and past. What's that horror in the woods? What was that called? We saw a couple of weeks ago that I can't even remember what it's called.
It's called They See, wasn't it? Was it They See or the
Watchers? The Watchers.
The Watchers. That was it. The Watchers.
That was very predictable. Yes. But this is on a different class. This is a good. Is not excellent. It's not Silence of the Lambs, because it doesn't deal with the psychological murderer like in Silence of the Lambs. But it's very, very, is on a level of weirdness, and that sense of dread is in the air all the time. Thank you for watching our review of Longlegs, directed by Oz Perkins with NicolasCage. If you'd like to see a review of another equally weird film, stick around for a review of Kinds of Kindness. See you soon.